Good evening, everybody. Okay, I want to get right into it tonight because I know that many of you are watching the convention. And I just got to say, good luck to you, Joe Biden, who've got a tough act to follow. Michelle Obama, Dr. Jill Biden, Kamala Harris. But it's going to be fun to watch. Okay, very excited to get into it tonight. I have two awesome, fierce, amazing, strong women joining me. Kate Schroder is a candidate for Congress. Hi, Kate.
Hey.
She's a candidate for Congress in the 1st Congressional District of Ohio. So that is the Cincinnati area, Hamilton County, and Warren County down in Southwest Ohio. She's a native of Cincinnati. She's a mom. She has beaten cancer. She is a global healthcare expert. So, kind of like the type of person you'd want in Congress. She's also my friend. We used to live in DC together, like before we had kids and did all of those things, like moving to Ohio and starting our families. And we used to be in this women's group together that would get together and like talk about life and drink wine and eat snacks. So I just am so excited for so many reasons about Kate's willingness to serve. So welcome to you.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. And I just love that we also have with us Curtis Sittenfeld. It's coming, there she is, who happens to look a lot like Kate.
Oh, this
so
was.
Curtis is a best-selling New York Times best-selling author multiple times. I have read many of those books, including your most recent one, Curtis. But we're not going to talk about that the whole time, even though I could. But Curtis wrote an article for Glamour recently about basically her lookalike, Kate Schroder, who's running for Congress. And the cool thing is that they are both from Cincinnati. And so, Curtis, you had been hearing about Kate. So, all right, let's just start there. The first time you guys met, Curtis, why don't you talk about like how you even got the idea to do this article based on that even happening?
Well, I heard the legend of Kate Schroder for several years before I met the woman herself. So my brother PG, who is a member of the Cincinnati City Council person, told me like this woman exists who looks a lot like you, and I did think it was like narcissistically I was intrigued, and then a couple of years passed. I met Kate and I was like, oh, like not only is she gorgeous, but she's smart and charming, and it's like looking into a mirror. And then I think that was in maybe November 2018. And Kate, if I'm not mistaken, you announced that you were running for Congress summer 2019.
Right.
And I feel like in some ways, I think some of my interest in Kate originally was like, some like narcissism, a little bit of a gimmick. And then I, started to hear her speak, and we did an event together, and I was sort of like, holy shit. Like, I mean, like it's, this is so exciting. She's really smart. Even before there was a pandemic, I thought it was really awesome that she had all this expertise in public health. And, she seems like exactly the kind of person who all of us want in Congress, even though I currently don't live in Cincinnati. I live in Minneapolis, but I wish that I could vote for Kate. So that's sort of the trajectory.
Oh my gosh. Funny. I was so excited to meet Curtis because I knew we met at this event where she was interviewing someone at this big annual dinner. And so I knew she was going to be there. And for several years, many years, I moved back to Cincinnati 7 years ago. And literally like once a month or every other month, I would have a super awkward experience where someone would like start waving at me. Or I think the most awkward was when I was with my kids cheering the marathon on, and these two runners came over and like grabbed my hands and they're like, "We're so happy you're here." And I was like, had no idea who they were. And they're like, "We just love your books." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not Curtis." And I probably should have just played it off because then they felt bad. And anyway, but that happens all the time. So when I knew that I was going to have a chance to introduce myself, I'm like, oh my God, I can share these awkward stories with her, and she's this amazing person. And
maybe it was stories, by the way. Even when they don't involve me, I still love awkward stories. But when they do involve, no, it's. I will say, like I said this in the Glamour article. I feel like you know, like Kate is sort of the movie version of me, where like she's so well dressed, she's so like pulled together, and I'm like a disheveled writer. You know, like I'm really tonight. I'm pulling out all the stops, like changed out of my sports bra for you guys. Didn't wash my hair, but did change out of my sports. But like, so I love. Like the funny thing is that I think like if someone sees Kate in some like, you know, like beautiful like pantsuit or like well-tailored dress, it's like that's not, no one who knows me would think that was me, but like I love it.
All right, Curtis, I'm just getting to know you, but I love you already. I don't think I even had a bra on until I was preparing to come on camera tonight. So you are my people.
During the pandemic, there's like the great like debate, bra, no bra, which my philosophy is split the difference with an unsupportive sports bra.
Yeah, that's me most days.
Right, and you don't need to wash your hair, just use a dry shampoo.
Oh yeah. Or don't even use dry shampoo.
I just got on that train.
It's the best.
My sister just introduced me to it. I'm on my first bottle, and it is fantastic. I mean, I've never washed my hair so little.
I may have started using on my daughter, so it's probably taking it to new levels.
Oh, that is a good mom hack.
Yeah,
I love
it
that.
is.
Okay, all right. So it occurs to me, Kate, that might have actually been like some good preparation. Getting confused for Curtis, like you were doing your thing. You had a big job traveling around the world doing global health amazingness. But you weren't getting recognized like on the street. But I assume now that you are in TV ads and your name is on banners and yard signs everywhere, maybe that's changing. So I don't know. Do you feel like you're like, okay, I got this? They think I'm Kate, and I know I'm Kate, and I can be Kate. I mean, what's it like with that transition to be in the public eye? And you both are. You both have really demanding jobs. You're both in the public eye, and I think a lot of women, that makes them nervous. How do I handle that? What are people going to say? How do I handle criticism? You guys both are at very different roles as a candidate and author, but I think people would love to hear you guys sort of reflect on what that's been like to gain notoriety and how you deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I just had an experience today where I got a call from my daughter's second grade teacher, new teacher for the first time. And they had the wrong email address. And it came up that I was Kate, that I was running for Congress. And she's like, oh my God, you're Kate for Congress. I was like, oh yes.
That's your last name now.
Yes, I know. I think my kids sometimes think that. No, they understand. But it is, I mean, honestly, that's what gave me the most hesitation about doing it. It was less me and more my family, because I can handle it. I'm not afraid. But it's like, you're putting yourself out there for something you believe in, and it's going to be nasty. I mean, there's a terrible ad up on TV with full of lies about me. And that's going to happen. There'll be more of that. But for me, it ultimately came down to like the same reason not to do it is the same reason you need to do it. Our system is so negative and so nasty. And that's because we've been electing people that are focused on the divisiveness and like not what brings us together and gets things done. And I say all the time, I'm a low ego mom. I know how to de-escalate. And that's what we need in politics. So I
love that.
Yeah.
So true. That's just like, that's the job description for being a mom.
Yes.
We need more of that in DC for sure. So, all right, Curtis, and I have this question for both of you too, but like, I don't know much about what the day-to-day is of being a writer, but you guys you both have lots of deadlines. And you both have kids, all of it's just like multiple full-time demands. Like, how do you, especially in the context of a pandemic, ever get time to yourself, which, it's just necessary if you're ever going to recharge and, kind of get those pages written, I would assume, and, get everything done you have to as a candidate. Curtis, what's your strategy? What can we learn from it?
I would say, I mean, I think like everyone, like if someone were, of course, no one besides my family members is inside my house these days, but if someone were, like, it's not pretty, like they wouldn't be like, what's your expertise on this? Like, so you're only asking because you can't see it. But I mean, one thing I have worked from home for a long time. And, you know, my kids are like in elementary school. So which is obviously different from if they're like 2 or 4 or whatever. But I will say, like, you know, of course they'll come and talk to me a million times and I'll say, I'm working right now and I'll do this later. Like I'll answer this later. We'll go over this after lunch. We'll do this. So I think one thing is, you know, not trying to be like, leave me alone, but kind of saying like I actually think it's a good, positive thing for my kids that, you know, they see me working hard at a job I like and they know it matters to me. And it's not a bad thing that I don't 100% of the time shower them with attention.
Or shower them at all.
Either.
Ever.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's so smart. Yeah. Kate, what's your experience?
I mean, I don't do enough of it, but I think like what helps me is I have amazing friends that sometimes will text me and be like, Kate, we're meeting up in somebody's backyard, you know, at a distance with a couple bottles of wine and you have to come, we're bringing your favorite snacks. You know, like I have really good friends that sometimes will pull me out and say like, we have to do this and you're not saying no. And that matters a lot.
I can validate that because, you know, I got to swim in those awesome circles of amazing women, you know, with you in DC there for a little while. And I know that's true. Like just you attract loyal friends, you know, who I'm so glad you have that in Cincinnati too. I mean, gosh, how do we all get through anything?
Oh my gosh, we're all surviving.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Another thing I'm really curious to ask you guys about is that I know, Kate, for you, there are things that are very unique about being a female politician. And Curtis, I would think, I know less about it, but just, you know, as a female author, both of these are like male dominated professions. And I'm just curious about like, are there questions that you think you get asked that probably like male authors or like male candidates never do? I always find that really fascinating. And I would have asked you that anyway, Kate, but Curtis, like as an author, have you experienced that as well?
Well, it's so funny because I moderated a panel like about maybe a year and a half ago with 2 female authors where I was the one asking questions. And I said to them, like, what questions do you feel like you get asked that male writers don't? And one of them was like, well, that one, for instance. and I was like, okay, fair enough. But I will say,
okay, right, all right. I should say that too. Fair enough.
I just did a panel where, and amazingly, I mean, it ended up being like, it was lovely. Everyone was very smart. Where they sent advanced questions, and again, it was 3 women, and one of the questions was like, and all of us were writers, can you tell us like a bad date story? And then another was, what is feminist sex? I mean, let's say there were like 14 questions with them, and I replied like it was like my publicist, so it was like, I don't know actually, and I said they can ask whatever they want to. I consider those to be sexist questions that a man wouldn't be asked, and I would rather talk about my area of expertise, which is writing. And I will say the questions didn't come up. I don't know if it's because there was so much to discuss. I mean, again, everyone was lovely, but it's like, you know, like I feel I'm sort of complicit in the system, but yeah, the older I get, the more I'm kind of like,
well, and the older you get, probably you're just like, yeah, I don't need this BS. I'm just going to call it out.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the great thing about, you know, just like being a little older, you know? I feel that way. How about you, Kate? Have you noticed anything on the campaign trail?
I mean, I definitely get a lot of how do you balance it with your kids, which I don't think male candidates get that, or how the more sinister version, but it's meant lovingly, is like, oh, how could you think about doing this for your family, you know? And one person even asked my husband, like, how do you feel about, or why are you allowing your wife to do this? And I was like, this is why I do it.
I would have loved to have been in the room when John was actually asked that question, because I have a feeling that he would have been like, okay, let me talk to you about how you asked me that.
No, he is I mean, honestly, having a supportive husband is like what makes this, he's been amazing in this. So it's interesting. I mean, the other thing that impacts women candidates a ton is the fundraising part, because the first thing, I mean, it's the most frustrating thing about politics is how much we need campaign finance reform. But, you know, the first thing you have to do is call through your network and fundraise. And women, half of us change your names, you know, halfway through their life. And it is so much harder to track down your network than it is for guys. And that's just like a little thing that you don't think about until all of a sudden you're like trying to look that up.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I would love to hear, Kate, what you are, you know, Red, White, and Blue, we're this statewide network across Ohio of women in the suburbs. And, you know, you've got a lot of suburbs in your district.
I
do. I
do.
think a lot of those, you know, women are interested in getting to know you more, which I'm sure they are already from this conversation. But, you know, what are you hearing? Because I know you have been spending a lot of time in those areas. And I would just love to know what you're hearing. I'm sure it's, and how are you kind of hearing from people, given that you can't like show up at the events and the dinners and the, you know, in this virtual world? I know there's a whole lot more online, but, you know, are you feeling in touch? And what are you hearing from those women?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we're reimagining what it looks like virtually and doing a lot more, you know, obviously a lot more digitally and relational organizing, and still trying to get in those wine clubs and gardening clubs, but in a new way, in whatever way they're meeting. But it's, I mean, it's interesting. Healthcare was the #1 issue in our district and in our suburbs, even before the pandemic, and even more so now. There's also, obviously, with the economy and the stress and the strain that, you know, I mean, the #1 thing is like people are just struggling. They're trying to get through the day. Parents are, you know, I've got a 5- and 7-year-old. Everyone asks how I'm doing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like campaign's going fine. Parenting is coming apart at the seams. Like people are stressed with their daily realities, taking care of family members. If they have someone in an assisted living facility, that is just 10 times more stressful than before. So I think there's a lot of personal stress and mental health challenges going on now. But in terms of issues too, it is also gun safety with moms. And I mean, I live that too. I've got kids that started going through active shooter drills at 3. It is the environment. It is also issues of civility and decency. You know, having somebody that we respect, that we are proud to tell our kids about, that is in our leadership.
Yeah. It's kind of lacking lately.
So lacking.
Curtis, is that the same for you too? I feel like the only thing I talk about with anyone in my life, especially moms though, you know, is this school stuff, you know, what's going on with the kids. The school, it changes every minute, but is that the same thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Lots of, you know, like this sort of, you know, logistically what's happening and then how will we manage it? And That's, I think that's must be everywhere right now in the United States. Yeah.
I've got to think, Kate, your perspective, like, given that your career has been about global health, like, you didn't think that you'd be running for Congress in the middle. Like, I know you knew your experience would be very relevant, but this is just shockingly relevant background to have, you know?
I don't have to explain what public health is anymore.
How?
There's
and
that.
You know who probably, I have to ask you this too. Like, did Amy Acton help you out, like assist you on that too? Like, given that everybody was watching those press conferences in the first month and listening to her, like.
Yes, she's amazing. I mean, what we had in Ohio for a while was, you know, and what we're lacking is just clear, consistent communication on the science and on our public health response. And she did an amazing job at that. So I love her.
I miss her.
I miss her.
Every day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, in 2016, you know, a slim majority of white women actually voted for Trump. And I'm just curious, based on what you're hearing up there in Minneapolis, Curtis, and what you're hearing, you know, now in Southwest Ohio, which, I mean, Kate, you would be the first woman to ever represent the first congressional district ever in our history. And is it, I mean, it feels like the winds are changing. You know, I think that so many women have become involved actually because we are so upset, horrified, enraged by what we see in our current leadership. I mean, what do you guys think? Is it going to be different next time? What are the indicators that you're like seeing, hearing, feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't take anything for granted, right? Like, but I will say that it's changing. You know, Trump won in this district 51-45 against Hillary. And currently Biden is up 3 points. So that's a 9-point shift. So
Wow.
it's possible, but polls are polls and it is early. So we have to continue, fighting and building that momentum. But I talk to a lot of people that say that, that say they vote, a lot of women, it's mostly women, that say they voted for Trump and they will not do it again. The difference is like, people see it, it's laid bare. Like, are you electing someone who's there to serve themselves or serve others? It's so clear. And I think a lot of women thought, oh, we want change, or, he's a businessman and we'll have change. And they've seen, that is not what they've gotten. And so I do think, and even in Warren County, which when this district was first drawn in 2012, it was 12% Democrat. And it went up in 2016. I think it was 20%, 25% in 2018. And in the primary we just had in April, it was 40% of Warren County voted Democrat. So that, and it's mostly women that are shifting over. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Like, we are all out there working every day to get messages out. But it's women know. They know.
It is so the women, because to have a 9-point swing in the district already and those huge changes in numbers you're talking about in Warren County, like, the swing among women is just like even bigger, because that's what's driving the swing overall.
And women are networked, like groups like this, right? So it's especially in a time when we don't have all our normal community gatherings. I do think like women talk, and women, there are the nodes of communication in a lot of circles around schools and families and things like that. And so they can be incredibly influential in making change.
Yeah. Are the wins, are you feeling the women power up there too, Curtis? What's going on the ground?
Feel the women power. Since 1975, I've been feeling. No, I feel like Kate, where I think, we shouldn't take anything for granted. And I think that, like, if you're watching tonight and that you're going to vote for Kate and you're going to vote for Biden, which, of course, like it also, you could still take the opportunity to like talk to a relative or talk to a friend who maybe isn't going to vote or is still considering voting for Trump, and just, I do think that we have the ability to influence people that we're close to, like if we're diplomatic and sort of in our low ego mom capacity. I think that can be persuasive at times, and that this is, I agree with everything that's been said in the Democratic convention so far, that it's like, vote as if your life depended on it. It feels like a lot is at stake right now.
Yeah, no kidding. And Curtis, that is 100% what I'm seeing in Ohio. Those relationships among women. You spoke to the strength of our networks, Kate. It's so true. Look, people are really busy in their lives, and having those conversations, reaching out, to in that low ego mom way to inform is incredibly powerful. We have really seen that work. Ladies,
yeah,
come on, let's do it. Let's get on board. Okay, I'll see how many of these I can get through our rapid fire round. So how we'll do this, I'll kind of go back and forth in terms of who will answer first. But these are meant to be, like quick answers, get to know you,
Yeah.
Okay, so these are 10 or as many as we get to things we want to know about you. Number one, Kate, you go first. A piece of advice you'd give your teenage self.
Oh, seek challenge and seek comfort, and always think about, making sure you have enough of both.
Oh, love that. Live in the tension. All right. What about you, Curtis?
I think I would say boys are insecure too.
Oh, so good. Oh. I'm loving getting to know the person who wrote these books that I just like read all the pages through. There's a reason. Okay. Favorite guilty pleasure, Curtis.
I don't even know that I feel that guilty about this, but I would say I do look at people.com, the website for People magazine, about 75 times a day. Which there's a strategy where, like, if I look at it that often, I only need to look at it for like a minute every time, because my knowledge of it is very comprehensive.
So that's only like 75 minutes a day,
No, I think maybe like Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's like 30 times a day, but it might really be 30.
No judgment, Curtis. I mean, just as long as you keep the rest of us informed. All right, Kate, do you have one?
I have discovered mint cookies and cream ice cream, and it is amazing. UDF, and now it like has to always be at our house. And
I tried to order some the other night as part of like a bulk delivery from Target, and they were out. It was actually really sad.
Kate got it all. Stop hoarding it, Kate.
You can have them in chocolate.
He knows I love it.
Okay. The person you would most want to get a glass of wine with. This is Kate first.
Tina Fey. If she's watching, I'm free anytime.
I mean, usually. All right, how about you, Curtis?
Maybe Oprah.
Yeah.
I mean, go for the gold, right? If it could be anyone, yeah.
Michelle.
All right, one skill or hobby you'd like to learn doesn't need to be in the pandemic because who has time? But I'm losing track of who I'm asking. Curtis, you first on this one.
Oh my God, there's so many. I think. Well, I have talked to my kids about. I've been like, we should like copy those dances on, like on TikTok, like we should synchronize. And I think that they can't imagine anything more horrifying. But I feel like that would be like out of my comfort zone and like, physical fitness. So we'll see.
That'd be a cool mom thing to do. How about you, Kate?
I would love to have a great singing voice, but I think that's not in the cards for me.
I mean, just keep practicing, girl. You know.
You can, you do, yes.
I mean, if you're gonna be in the shower like once a week, you can at least practice at that time. Okay. When the pandemic is over, the thing you'll miss most is, and then this is a two-parter. When the pandemic is over, the thing you'll miss least is. So Kate, you take that first. The thing you'll miss most and least.
Okay, most is all the time with family, especially like on hikes and nature walks, like just a ton of time in nature with my kids, which I love. Least I will miss tantrums and fights over screen time. Pretty much 90% of the time in my house.
It's so hard to know like how much is too much.
Yes, I know.
It's just
yeah. We used to have
a lot is okay, right?
It is okay. It is okay. I've read articles about this.
Yeah, I read that too, just to make myself feel better. Yes. Okay, what about you, Curtis? Most, miss least.
It's funny because I think my answer might be the same as Kate. It's like family time and family time.
It is. It's the same answer. That's true. All right, fair enough. Okay. One thing, we're gonna end on this one. One thing you're grateful for right now, Curtis.
Oh my goodness. I'm actually grateful for that. Well, I'm grateful that so many, like an unprecedented number of women are running for office, including Kate Schroder.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm grateful for that too.
All
right, Kate.
I'm grateful for my mom who's making like this possible. And yeah, she is moving to our neighborhood and helps with my kids and is making all of this possible. And my inspiration, as a woman, to give me confidence and the boldness to do something like this.
I couldn't live with myself if I didn't validate you on that either, because I know and she's a really special person. God, what a rock. And she's super inspiring. Yeah. Go Kate's mom. Okay, so we have to wrap it up because the convention speeches are going to get going, and people want to watch that too, like just as much as they wanted to watch this, though, of course. But anyway, I just want to wrap by saying, you guys know the deal. If you want to make a difference in 2020, like how lucky are we that we have awesome candidates, awesome women like Kate running. So check her out more. I mean, and I'm so glad you've gotten a chance to get to know her here, and hope you can get involved. And also, Curtis is so right about the influence of women in our networks. So if you're not all plugged in with Red, White, and Blue yet, do it. We even have an app, and we have Zoom parties like almost every night of the week to like hook you up on how like the power of suburban women, so you feel all informed about how to do that in Ohio. Okay. So there's just no excuse to not have like an enormous amount of fun while making a difference. Okay. So with that, I just want to thank both Kate and Curtis for joining us tonight. It was so much fun to be with you guys. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
And it's 74, 75 days ahead. So
Yay, let's do this. Love you guys.